So let's see if you have any questions. Yes, please. Yes, but it's very rare that we can allow far too much, to a degree that it becomes a crisis unless we use very severe practices or use the intervention of psychedelic drugs. These are two examples, because then we can interfere. The thing is, what we need to understand is that, and we will talk about it tomorrow morning, so I will not start talking a lot about it, but there are three gateways that are three knots, three passages of Kundalini that block its way anyway. We sometimes get really angry at these gateways because it seems unfair. Sometimes, we begin to feel this touch of cosmic Kundalini and the union, and then we feel our consciousness returning to its ordinary state, and then we become frustrated. Why? What did I do wrong? Why? How do I get it wrong? And sometimes we feel very guilty for it, that we've probably interfered. But what we need to understand is that this is also a form of grace. The union cannot happen unless we are fully ready. Our nervous system anyway cannot conduct it. It's too much energy. And we need a preparation. We can literally burn out ourselves. So thankfully we have these three filters. They block it. They don't allow too much. And they are responsible for returning the Kundalini back to its place. And this is where we feel this coming down experience after a strong spiritual experience. We feel that something receding. It's the secret of the individual Kundalini returns to its seat. It is blocked. So unless we really do something harmful, it's not going to be too much. Even when we experience it too much, sometimes, and I know from experience, sometimes it can be experienced as overwhelming. That's a blessing, to be overwhelmed by Kundalini. We just need to trust that at these moments that it's not too much, even though it's overwhelming, because even a tiny bit is overwhelming. And if we cannot trust, then we have to have guidance. Someone who knows and trusts for us until we begin to trust. The intelligence, the love of Kundalini, that it's not a destructive force in us, that it doesn't come to destroy, it comes to build. Oh, with joy. Yes, please. That's a very complicated question. You see what you have brought. we need quite some time to answer this question because it is a complex question, not complicated but complex. The question is how do I know what type of energy is flowing in me, because I'm feeling it sometimes everywhere, sometimes definitely not as perfect as the image would like us to think, and how do I know also if it's and you say that sometimes you experience it as balanced, sometimes as unbalanced. Yes. Yeah. First of all, it's wonderful that you're experiencing subtle energy, that the subtle body is awake in you. Because we need to trust that it is a reality, that there are many things that are happening in the body within our body. And that we do have an invisible reality, an invisible physicality. That it's important to recognize it and to begin to enjoy it. Now, there are many reasons for the flow of energy in our subtle body, because our subtle body is not just one thing. It's different layers. It's a complex, just like our physical anatomy is complex. We have a whole medical world just to try to understand this system. So, and in the same way, to understand the subtle anatomy, we need just the same. We need a complex understanding. It's not just this stream of energy that elegantly rushes upward through one central column, and I'm meeting many people with many complications of their energy flow, and trying to help them to balance it, but every time there has to be a specific listening. It cannot be a general statement. Why there is a certain disruption, why there is a flow here or there. Now we need to understand, first of all, we have the layer of the subtle nervous system. Sushumna, the central column that is described here, and the two others are 3 out of tens of thousands. Which means that you are like a tree with endless branches. When you feel energies flow, they in other direction, it's because all the other nadis, the subtle nervous system tubes, they can also become excited with energy. They also flow, conduct energy, and they're meant to. This is like more, you need to think of it as the headquarters, you see, as the main, the central road, including also the 7 chakras that also are responsible for a lot of energetic happening. Now, sometimes if you need a direction, you might need a clear direction of someone who can specifically understand your system. But in general, we don't need to question about our flow of energy unless it feels stuck. As long as it feels harmonious, why would you ask any question? Do you understand? It's as if something feels harmonious, blissful, happy, and healthy, we all know what it feels like. We all know what it feels like to be healthy physically, and what it feels to be unhealthy, right? In the same way we feel our energy, when our energy flows beautifully, we feel healthy. But when it begins to get stuck, when you feel that it's starting to try to flow, but there is density, then it is something that requires attention. The easiest way, oh my God, that's a big question. The easiest way is to study the chakra system, and it's very easy to study the chakra system, and their topics and their issues and their blockages, their balances, imbalances, and whenever you have a certain flow, because the chakras govern the subtle nervous system, then you simply need to close your eyes and to ask yourself, to ask your system to show you from which chakra these blockages begins. And then you can begin to see how perhaps this chakra is currently blocked because of something. Emotion, a belief system that is related to it, a sort of lifestyle. But for this, you need to study the system more. So you understand? If you want to become master of your own system, and that's our job, our spiritual job is to become masters, to be able to understand. Whenever there is something that is flowing wrongly, we can trace it back to the chakra and say, okay, there is something in the second chakra, something in the third chakra. It's never something so specific like a certain branch over there. Though it is very meaningful if it's on the right side or the left side. But again, for that, we need to study it. Perhaps throughout this weekend, I will manage to give more consciousness to this process. So it's a lot about listening, and the trust that you can also understand, and not just that there are endless peculiarities in your system that you cannot grasp, you cannot control. I was given this trust by my own teacher, because when I came to my own teacher, second teacher, who I consider the one that really taught me this art of union. When I came to my second teacher, I came completely disrupted. To say that my nervous system, subtle nervous system, was flowing badly would be an understatement. I was just all over the place. I couldn't sleep at night. Whenever I opened the door outside my house, I felt like the entire world entered my body. I didn't have filters. My nervous system was broken, subtle nervous system, and there were nightmares, and there was nausea, and so on and so on. Everything went wrong, and I came to him so exhausted after 2 years like that. Yes, I know, of course, this suffering has a reason, because then you manage to understand it and to teach it. Very simple. So that's when it becomes meaningful. And then I came to that teacher. I didn't know him at all. I even didn't know he was a teacher. I thought he was a healer. And then I just sat in front of him after meeting so many others who had no idea what was happening. And he looked at me and he said, after 15 minutes, okay, that's a very simple situation. And he said, it's just I didn't understand even a word, he said, because I wasn't educated spiritually. He just said, yeah, it's just the Ida, the left side, of the Kundalini flow got disrupted, is in excess, and we need to get it back to flow. And that was simple to him, unbelievable to me, but after 6 months it was okay. And then slowly I started becoming really curious, because then I understood that I could listen to my own system. And that's when we begin to become masters of the system. One very easy way, by the way, to balance the system when we feel a sort of branching out of the energy is to simply visualize the sushumna, the central column, and to visualize the energy concentrated and flows only throughout this one channel. That is, even visualization of sushumna, of the central column, is powerful enough as a starting point. But we are going to practice it, I think, so deeply and frequently throughout this seminar that you're going to do it anyway, naturally, afterwards. So, a last question. Yes, please. Aha. Caught me. Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, I just want to say, feel completely comfortable to ask questions in German. If you feel hesitant to speak in English, you don't need to try to practice English. And if it prevents you from asking questions, please know that you can ask a question; it will be immediately translated. Sometimes it feels more convenient and relaxing to ask it in our own language. Okay, so just know there is no limitation in that. So, true, I was really young, and on many levels completely unprepared. But on many other levels, I was completely prepared, because the thing is first of all whether our mind is fearless, completely confident about the spiritual reality. Confidence is a tremendous, it's not arrogance. Confidence is like knowing, of course, this union is what it's all about, and it's going to happen. This is confidence, it's not arrogance. It's just this feeling of certainty that it is completely available, that cosmic Kundalini is everywhere, and at every given moment we can open up. Why not? It's not something that it doesn't say that we're special. On the contrary, this process is going to make us the most unspecial things in the world. So it's a lot about fearlessness, confidence, and the readiness to leave the world behind. And I had it, you see. It doesn't matter if you're 6, Ramana Maharshi, he was, some say 16, some say 17, something probably in the middle. He was a young guy. He wasn't prepared at all. And he just felt that he was going to die. And he lay down and he said, okay, let's die. Let's see if something is going to remain. He was curious. Most other people at the age of 60, 70 would panic. Like, what is happening? What is wrong? He was just ready to leave the world behind. And some people say, yes, of course, when you're young, you don't know what you're meant to leave behind, so it's very easy. But it's not true, because when you're young, you have many desires and ambitions. You feel the whole life in front of you with all its promises, you see? And then why would you feel ready? So it doesn't matter whether when you are young, you feel that the whole world is waiting for you, full of experiences, and you want to experience. I was just ready not to experience. You see? I said, okay, let's die. And some people who are old, they feel that there is too much baggage, that they cannot leave it behind, too many attachments, too many memories. So it doesn't matter. The thing is the principle. It's the readiness to leave the world behind. The feeling, okay, and one day I'm going to die. So let's die now. Let's die consciously. Why wait? Why die like other people do? You see, completely unconsciously, like just an abrupt interruption of a stream of consciousness. So it's confidence, fearlessness, because you're really not afraid. You say, I'm ready. And the readiness to leave the world behind. And another ingredient is innocence. If you are an all-knowing person, like someone who says, yeah, I have 20 years behind me of meditation, I'm really spiritual, and we know all the words, and we know all the gestures, and we are very sophisticated, and whatever we hear, we already interpret through our knowledge system, you see? We say, yes, I know that, of course, yes, Kundalini and all these things, this is nothing for me. If we treat this through sophistication, this cannot happen. And sometimes the more unsophisticated people can get it much more easily than the sophisticated people. Nisargadatta Maharaj was a really great liberated being of the 20th century. He was selling cigarettes in a sort of a kiosk, in India. He just met a guru. The guru told him, just focus on the I am, your sense of I am, constantly. And he was very innocent. He said, okay. And he focused. And enlightenment happened, but then it was so. He just did it because he just followed what is hard to recognize that's true. So we don't need to know to be all knowers. So you see, and if you have all these qualities, they compensate for your young nervous system. They compensate for your lack of experience in life. This you can catch up later. But these are certain qualities that sometimes we need to develop. You see? Sometimes, for example, the readiness to leave the world behind. We need to experience enough to be disappointed enough. Blissfully disappointed. You see? Like experiencing and then trying again and again. Maybe this time it will happen. Maybe the promise of life is real. And then you try again and experience and go through all the trouble, and then you are again disappointed. And then at a certain point you say, okay, I surrender. It really doesn't work. So it can happen very quickly at the age of 16 or 17, or it can happen very late in life, and it doesn't matter. You see? It's always here. We can always allow it to happen. We need to understand Kundalini on its way melts away all our mental constructs, all our emotional constructs. It's sometimes it can be scary because it's not having the ordinary ties. You have nothing to relate to. Your old reference points, they simply dissolve one after the other. And to be able to be in this, to stand in this groundless ground, that's sometimes challenging. Then sometimes it's good to have a teacher or an inspiration, because then we can always look at them and think, okay, it looks good. It looks okay. It looks healthy, so I can do it. I'm not going to go crazy because it looks good. In a way, practice develops in us these capacities, these qualities. This is the role of practice, to prepare the ground, prepare the ground, prepare the ground. One day before we know it, we have become completely mature human souls. Good. I think we have tuned in this talk, and we can now take a break. We'll take a break of 20 minutes, and then enter together a sort of guided meditation that is going to be the method, but not without calling it the method. We're not going to. We're just going to go through it and get in touch with it. So let us have a sacred journey.